Hey, it's Dan Larson. Welcome to the newest EDM Production tutorial, and this time we are at episode number 5. In the previous video we talked about how to process your drums if you make trap, for example, or hybrid trap or any kind of bass heavy hip-hoppy 808 kind of sound. Now in this video I would like to talk about a little different thing, how to make your drums fit into your mix. And previously I gave you a few tips on how to make your sound really fat, especially if you use a regular 808 kit. They sound pretty well, but they don't fit into modern and heavy style of hybrid trap, for example, so you need to process them pretty heavily. But for example, in this case, what I want to show today, the drums are processed pretty well on themselves, so the one shots are just, they just sound well. So as you can see, I haven't made any process on the drums, only on individual sounds and hits, but on the group I haven't made any, especially not on the build-up drums, only some multiband compression and some saturation, but on the full group I haven't made any. So what if you made your drums and you have your synths and basses and stuff and you want to mix them well? So the first thing I want to show you is how they sound when I apply a master rack and how they sound when I disable the master rack. So here is with the master rack. But before we jump into it, let me encourage you to subscribe and hit the little bell icon to receive notifications whenever I upload new videos. I upload Synthesize Sunday tutorials on every Sunday, EDM production tutorials on every Wednesday, and song feedback sessions on every Friday. So if you don't want to miss any of these, smash those buttons for good. What is the difference what you can find here? Okay, so besides it is louder and fatter and stuff, the main difference is the drums are always louder than the other instruments. So for example, we have the synth and basses, in other words, instrument group, and we have the FX, which is not very important here. Those are mainly just noises and risers, and the 808, which is a pretty important part of a hybrid trap or any trap style. You always want to make sure that the drums are the loudest part of your song. And as you can hear when I disable the master rack, these are the loudest part really. So I talked to several producer guys who have their scheme and they have their template when they start making a song, like setting the drums group to, I don't know, like 0, and the synth basses to -3 or -5, the subs and other instruments, they set everything well. And they start building up their song around this template, which is a pretty nice and pretty smart thing, because, your songs will be always consistent, and this is a very important thing. So the first thing, as I mentioned before, the drums should be always the loudest. Especially in trap, you always need to match your drums with the 808 because the 808 sub always plays together with the kick. So as I said before, this is a very important thing, and most of you guys, I bet, use like a compression, sidechain compression to dock the sub when the kick drum hits. And this is one way to do that, but I have a different thing. What I really like to do is I put the subs into my sampler, like you can use any kind of sampler, and I leave out the space leave out some room for the kick on the main amplitude envelope. So this is what I did here. I just left like 76.4 milliseconds room for the kick when it hits. And I don't want to play the 808, when the kick doesn't hit. I just want to go along with the kick. So you don't need to sidechain everything if you set this like this, and if you don't want to play a different melody or a different place where the kick doesn't hit. And this is not very regular. So I think this is a nice way to do that. You save CPU power, and this is, just a lot simpler way to do it. Now the 808 should be again a lot quieter than the drums. So as you can see, I am -10 on the drums and -15.6 on the 808. So it is 5 decibels quieter than the drums. And again, the synths are on the same level, but maybe it is a mistake. I need to pull them back a little, because on the master stage you always want to add some crunch, always want to add some compression. What, to be honest, I don't really do when I produce dubstep, so it is a little different. Well, this is my experience. Maybe other producers think differently, but this is what I experienced. That, for example, in dubstep, I don't want to, I don't want too much process and don't want too much things on my master channel. I like to process the instruments and the groups and the other tracks separately, and on the master I just add some very minimal compression, just a touch, really, some saturation and some limiting, and that's it. Now in trap it is a little different, because on the master here, on the master you want to add some huge crunch to glue everything together, and this is because the 808 is so loud, and the drums should be crunched together and glued together with the 808, like they were a very same instrument, like like a kick with a very long tail. This is how you should listen to a trap song. At least this is what I experienced. So this is why I like to not glue everything together on the instruments, on the tracks. Of course I made some processes, but on the master I like to crunch them a little more. Now in the previous video we talked about how to process your drums, and once you do that, I bet you have some very fat drums group. Once you've done that, you have your 808, you want to glue them together using this trick what I just showed you, to have some room for the kick, and you don't need to use any sidechain compression or any other trick. This amplitude notch really does its job, so it's a lot less hassle. And when you've done that, you need to be sure that the 808 and the instruments are always a little quieter than the other instruments, and on the master you want to add some more crunch or more compression and stuff. In the next video, which will be next week, we are going to talk about a little more about how to master your trap song, and then we will step further with other production tips. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and see you next time, guys. Bye bye.